We are joined by Mike Kewley for another spot of midweek mindfulness. And Sarah, you sat in on the session, or we'll put the practice up after the show on the podcast, and you were talking about the fact that it was quite an emotional one. Mike, do you find that people have that sort of response when they are taking part in mindfulness practice, that quite often it can be emotional? Because it seems from what we've talked about over the past few weeks that actually almost what you're trying to do is level things out and sort of almost not numb the emotions but calm them.
Yeah, there's kind of there's two effects really. So there's a lot of practices that are very calming. So for instance, I sometimes work with people that are, again, they're going through hell. And the thing that's useful about the practice is that they can kind of step into the eye of the storm. The storm may still be there, but suddenly there's a quiet space they can shift into. And as one person told me, it's almost like a break. You know, it's not medicated. It's not a numbing out. You know, it's just a kind of shifting gear into some stillness, some mental silence for 10 minutes or so. That's a very nourishing place to be. And so you're able to take a break from the turbulence of your own mind, which is very useful. You know, I remember when I first started practicing and I realized, wow, I can sit down, I can focus on my breath, and whatever's annoying me in my mind, in my head, stops. And I realized most people don't know that. Most people are living 24/7 with that raging head. So it's very useful to discover that you can stop. But the other part of that is, you know, we don't want to live like robots. We don't want to be unemotional. So there's these other practices, not just to make us feel emotional, because, you know, we just get trapped in that and we go round and round and round in these recycled emotions, but to kind of promote positive emotion, which is what we want. That's how we connect with someone. You know, if I can't share in your sadness, how do I connect to you? If I'm in my own little bubble, you know, I don't get to connect to the world. And I'm not much use. You know, as I said to one group recently, a company, I said, you know, I'm standing here, I'm talking to you about mental health, but if I've never experienced suicidal thoughts, if I've never been depressed, if I've never been, you know, had grief or anything, I may as well leave because I'm no good to you. You know, so there's that sense of sharing, and the idea as well that people think that some emotions are, they've led them down a dead end. You know, like, oh, I have this, it's awful, maybe it's grief or something like that, I feel stuck with it, ideally I don't want this. But there's something about an emotion that the longer you can stay with it and sit with it and bravely allow it to be fully felt, it will reveal often its opposite. So I've sat with total confusion, and from it I've got this sense of complete calm and security. I've sat with fear and I've suddenly felt completely invincible. You know, I've sat with grief and then suddenly you get that sense that that person is almost with you. So we don't know that because usually we run a mile from the initial emotion. If you can learn how to stay there, sit with it, allow it, ride those waves, often it will show you its opposite. But you have to stick around long enough to find out.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we were recording the podcast and doing this exercise, it made me think of a couple of things. What you resist persists. So if you do try and lock that emotion away, if you do try and sort of hide something, which we are taught to, society wants us to put this brave, positive mask on, and although we are being encouraged to sort of share how we feel, people have only got time for so much, you know, and I think I'm as guilty as anyone else of thinking, oh, I don't want to burden you with that. Like, you know, you don't need to share that feeling or share that experience with me, but it can be so beneficial. And the other thing was that occurred to me in that practice was the only way to get past something is to go through it. And it's amazing how the ripe old age of 30, I've realised that emotion from times gone by can stay with you for an awful long time and rear its ugly head again until you're prepared to, as you say, sit there, feel it, and allow it to be, because also it can teach you an awful lot. And I think the interesting thing about the exercise that we did was that you were encouraging me to feel to embrace whatever emotions came up, because emotions are just emotion. How you deal with them is something else, but emotions are just feelings and they are part of the human experience. There's nothing dangerous about them as long as you know how to manage them and you are mindful of how you express them. And it really turned the tables for me in sort of helping me understand that even if somebody seems completely opposite to me and I just don't feel like I can relate to them, essentially I really can.
Yes.
And so from a practical point of view, bearing that in mind then, Mike, if someone is in a situation where they're not in a sort of mindful practice or anything, they're not meditating, but they're maybe at work and something overcomes them, whether it's anxiety or stress or any of those sort of emotions, if they then have the tools from having done a bit of mindfulness to think, do you know what, I can sit with this in order to calm it, is there any way of gauging how long that might take? I mean, could you, if you're sat in a stressful situation at work, do a couple of minutes of mindfulness and calm it down in that space of time?
Yes. Yeah, and that's what people tell me all the time, and that's something I found out. You can literally drop from 10 to 0, often within 10 breaths, and you get better at that. And if you know that you can drop from 10 to 0 within 10 breaths, you are rare, and that's a superpower. So that's worth playing with. Even as you're listening to this, you've got no interest in mindfulness, play with how calm can you make yourself within 10 breaths. Track, pay attention, follow your breath, count 10. Don't deep breathe, just as it comes through your nose, that's fine. And then, you kind of boost your ability to drop into calm and focus much quicker. But generally, two things that are useful is have a daily practice, which kind of trains you as an all-rounder for whatever may happen, and then little and often through the day. Take little hits of mindfulness, catch 10 breaths, 1 minute to sit down and just kind of soak into whatever emotions or feelings might be in the body.